Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are excited to be bringing you not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 altcoins to watch in the month of October. What we're going to do to start the video off is talk about the cryptocurrency market generally in regards to the direction it's about to embark on. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. To do this, we're going to be showing you that the 5 altcoins that we've looked at have largely just followed Bitcoin's price movements. And with the pullback that Bitcoin's been going through since March, a lot of them have sort of sloped to the downside, lost more ground in an alt fashion than Bitcoin has. However, they've overperformed to the downside. They're about to overperform to the upside, which we're on the cusp of. We'll also be looking at some total market caps, predominantly total 3, which is everything excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, which all of these altcoins are in, that is now broken out and is likely going to embark on an upward trajectory. And these altcoins are about to absolutely skyrocket in October and November, ladies and gentlemen. Hundreds of % gains we think are to come. In our own personal opinion, of course, that is not financial advice. Without further ado, let us dive into the video. And we are going to start things off, as promised, by talking about the space generally. So those of you that watch me daily, we won't go too much into detail on it. We have a number of technical patterns that give us confluence in regards to the direction that Bitcoin is going in, whether that be an inverse head and shoulder taking us to 151,000, whether that be a bull flag taking us to 130, or whether that be a cup and handle taking us to 309. There's also patterns on the smaller time frame. And in regards to the smaller time frame, Bitcoin has been pulling back since March this year in a very pullback-esque fashion. Remember, Bitcoin is in a broader uptrend. Again, that technical confluence there. Don't bet against the trend. It's your friend. And ultimately, it's going up, still in an uptrend. And Bitcoin's been pulling back in this kind of broadening wedge-esque fashion. And whilst Bitcoin's been pulling back, the altcoin market has largely just capitulated under its weight. Bitcoin is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships. Now, we think Bitcoin is very close to completing this pullback and embarking on its next leg higher. We're going to be looking at some totals in just a second. And the altcoins that we're going to be looking at today are Arweave, Render, Nia, SushiSwap, and Jasmy. And you can see, we've got all these altcoins on now, that their price has just mimicked Bitcoin's price. However, because they're altcoins, they've overperformed to the downside. They're a lot more volatile, which works both ways. Volatility can work in your favor. It can also work against you, certainly when you're on the wrong side of the market. And the market's largely been going down since March. But with the reassertion of Bitcoin that we think we're on the cusp of, you are going to see these altcoins absolutely skyrocket, ladies and gentlemen. And the beautiful thing is, they all have technical patterns that they have just broken out of that is going to see them moon. We're talking about hundreds of % gains. We've covered another 6 altcoins that all have similar patterns, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to be focusing on these 5. We're trying to bring you as many altcoins that we think are going to do as well as possible, and it's up to you guys to make your own decisions in regards to what you want to invest in. This year, from now, 12 months on, people's lives are about to be changed, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all on board with that ride. When we look at the likes of Total 2, this is recently broken out of a bull flag. You can see this is your capping resistance. You've recently broken out of it. This is likely going to set you up. So this is everything outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, Total 3. You can see your bull flag here. You've broken out of it. This is currently at $628 billion, likely moving well above and beyond $1 trillion. In fact, we think it's going to go significantly above that if you look at the likes of others, which is everything outside the top 10, which all of these coins are, I believe. Yep, they are. This is essentially going to around about $2 trillion. So there's lots of confidence in regards to the direction I think the overall space is going. We looked at Bitcoin in regards to where it's currently at and what the next moves for it in October, November are going to mean for the altcoin market. Certainly, if it's a good time for Bitcoin, it's going to be a great time for these altcoins. So let us now start to introduce the altcoins. We're going to take a sort of big view, and then we'll drop down the timeframes and look at the pattern that we're identifying. And let's talk about that pattern to kick the video off. So the pattern that we're identifying is a technical pattern. It is a falling wedge. And here on the screen, we've got probably one of the best schematics I've found in regards to a falling wedge. And you can see within this falling wedge, there is one major impulse, a second smaller impulse, and then a third even smaller impulse. It's like a golf ball running out of momentum. And that's how the wedge pattern forms. You essentially get a restriction in volatility that leads to an expansion and an upward price trajectory. If it's a falling wedge, if it's a rising wedge, vice versa. And all 5 of these charts, cryptos, are currently showing signs of life in regards to having completed these patterns, breaking out from your sort of resistance trend line that is the top side of the falling wedge, and they're ultimately about to embark on a higher price journey. And the beautiful thing is, we know that the space generally is heading in that direction. So there's a lot of confluence there. So let's introduce altcoin number one. And altcoin number one, this is an altcoin that at one point was 600% up for me and my community. Guys, if you want to dive into my Patreon, there are altcoins there that we will legitimately think are going to 100x in a short period of time. Get on board with that. These are altcoins that nobody talks about. We don't really talk about them publicly on the channel. We talk about lots of the holdings that we have, like Arweave is one of ours. And it's done very well for us. But there's some that we reserve for Patreon members specifically. But altcoin number one that we have for you today is Arweave. This, again, for me at one point was 600% up. You can see we like to teach in our market mastery course, of which there's still 80% off on. This is your phase one base, breakout on volume into phase two. Very common that you get that retest. Arweave didn't quite make it all the way down before you see continuation in the trend. And the continuation in the trend is very much going to align with the direction we think Bitcoin is going in. But if we look at Arweave specifically, which is why we're saying this is absolutely one to watch in October, you can see that falling wedge very much applicable and playing out. You've got your one big impulse, second smaller impulse, third even smaller impulse, and now you're starting to base out with marginally lower lows and starting to break. You've already broken your capping sort of resistance level. You've broken out. Get ready for an explosive upside, ladies and gentlemen. Arweave from where it currently is today to get back to where it once was is a 110% gain. I think these are achievable in the next couple of months, in my own personal opinion. Let's talk about altcoin number two, ladies and gentlemen. And this is one that we covered a long, long time ago. It is, of course, Render. Render, we are very, very bullish. Both of these coins are in the deep in sector. We're very bullish on deep in. This is Render on a zoomed out view. You can see phase one base into a phase two breakout, continuation of the trend. The low is still intact here, so there's been no trend invalidation. And this ultimately is a pullback in a falling wedge manner that you've broken out of, that's likely going to lead to some pretty explosive upside in the month of October and November. Let's dive down the timeframes and look at the specific pattern. And in fact, what we're going to do is go on the daily instead of the 3 daily. And you can see, again, what it is we are highlighting here. You've got your one big impulse. You've got your second smaller impulse, but still significant. Your third. And now you're breaking out and looking for that upside trajectory. Render today, just back to where it was in the previous trend high, is a 105% gain, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to see this out of the altcoin market because it's all positioned in that manner, and Bitcoin is going to permission it in the month of October, November. I'm going to give myself 2-month time period on this. Let's talk about altcoin number 3, ladies and gentlemen, and it is Near Protocol. Big pivot from Near into the AI sector. You can see phase one base, breakout on volume into phase two, retest, and now we're looking for that continuation. Trend still very much intact. Let's drop down the time frames. What do we have? I can hear you all saying it. A falling wedge, very present. We did do 6 other altcoins that all had this exact pattern at play. You've got your 1 impulse, your 2 impulse, your 3 impulse, and look at what you're doing. You've broken out. You're now likely going to look for that continuation to the upside. Near from where it currently is today to its high before it started this pullback is a 68% gain. Again, we think this is coming in October, November. On the macro, all of these look great, i.e. the weekly time frame. And on the smaller time frame, you have this pattern across the board for many altcoins, certainly the 5 that we are highlighting today. Let's now talk about altcoin number 4. Now, this might be a bit of a fan favorite. It is Jasmy coin. Now, I happen to have a little bit of queries in regards to a lot of the information that comes out in regards to Jasmy coin. I'm not sure how correlatable it is. However, this coin looks pretty good. We actually have a ridiculous price prediction. Watch out. Comment in the comment section if you want a Jasmy specific price prediction. If you want price predictions for any of these coins, by the way, we've given some for some. Then do let us know and we'll do specific price prediction for this cycle videos. However, Jasmy coin, again, phase one base, breakout on volume, and then you're consolidating, you're respecting the trend, you haven't ran a low yet. And if we drop down to the smaller time frames, what do we have? We have, once again, We've spotted him. The falling wedge. The famous, the great falling wedge. And you can see you're rounding out here. You're likely going to start to make your way to the upside. And Jasmy today, just back to highs, is a 90% gain, ladies and gentlemen. Let's now move on to altcoin numero 5. And this is one, I don't personally hold it. We wanted to throw a little bit of DeFi in here. This is SushiSwap. This is a DEX. Not only is it double bottoming, this is a lot further behind than the other 4 altcoins that we've mentioned. I would be more inclined to go into them. I'm not massive on DeFi, but I know some of you are, and we wanted to add variety, just like we've spoken about a number of meme coins, even though we're not a meme coiner. We'll take a punt on we'll spin the wheel. DeFi is not really my thing, but SushiSwap, double basing, this is still very much in phase 1. It hasn't quite broken out into phase 2 yet. However, there is a pattern that we believe is likely going to see continuation to the upside, and it is the falling wedge once again. You can spot those 3 impulses, very textbook. You've broken out. You're now going to look for that continuation to the upside, ladies and gentlemen. So, to recap for you, the altcoins that we've mentioned are Arweave, great macro structure on the weekly. When we drop down the time frames, falling wedge you think we've broken out of. Render, pretty beautiful. All-time highs were taken for this. Pulling back in and around all-time highs, very common in this sort of descending fashion. You're going to excel out of it. Falling wedge present. Near protocol, very bullish on this project fundamentally. Again, beautiful technical chart in regards to how markets work and the phases that are within them. Jasmy, great chart. We've got an insane price prediction with Jasmy that I hope you guys are looking forward to. And we've got SushiSwap. They're 5 altcoins that you absolutely should be watching and paying attention to in the month of October, because they're all going to do some pretty insane things. That is it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed this content as much as I've enjoyed presenting it. And on that note, I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next.